Welcome to the Shulamite Podcast, an extension of Shulamite Ministries and Shulamite.com, with weekly interviews and teaching with author and speaker Martha Kilpatrick and hosted by John Enslow. This weekly podcast is a way to stay connected to the ministry. So come experience anointed messages, not giving just another method, but a living impartation.
This story comes to mind, and it's real old. A long time ago, I had a friend that we were supposedly together in Christ, but there just wasn't any unity. And I sat down with her and I said, one of us is not in the Spirit, and it's not me. I'm not sure I could always say that, but she worked it out somewhat and is still with me after all these years. But it's the Spirit. It's our individual relationship with Christ by the Spirit that keeps us in the flow of the body, keeps us in the fellowship that is universal and international and mysterious and functions on a level of the spiritual realm that we really cannot comprehend.
You always talk about it as the Transcendent Church. And for me, that's amazing. The transcendence of the church is Christ the head.
And it's transcend. That means it's above earthly things, human things, visible things. The church, and Sparks calls it the church is in the heavenlies. And Ephesians says every spiritual blessing in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. In order to have the spiritual blessings to which you're entitled, you have to be in the church by being under the head. Well said, John. And then you're in the flow of Christ, but it's by each person being in the Spirit. So there seems to be many things that we are learning and called to share about this experience. It's not just about Martha. It's about an empty vessel that was rendered so empty at last that God could come through and with a message that I believe was phenomenal, even though I really wasn't there. Here's the shocking verse. If anyone has caused you pain, to the Corinthians from Paul, he has caused it not to me, but in some measure to all of you. For such a one, this punishment by the majority is enough. One person's immorality hurt everyone in the church. And so that's why it's imperative that the church body, wherever it's present and operative, must engage in church discipline. I won't go into that right now. Didn't intend to talk about it. But there again, Paul is revealing the oneness of the church.
Do you think that every time we rely on ourselves, wherever we rely on ourselves, in whatever arena, that's when we bring in flesh and death?
Absolutely. Good grief, John. You want to expand on that?
Well, I just see that any place that I have independence, which means my life doing it, or my will doing it, or myself in any way doing it, I have defeat. And I'm wondering, and just, I've got a thought about just areas that I do it, and those are the areas that I can't. I literally, it's like walking across a bridge that's rickety and broken, and I fall right through. Anytime I pull myself from underneath the head, I bring in death. And there's areas in my life that I cannot get through and get victory over, and I'm wondering if it's just not because I won't let him be head, and I won't let him be. I won't be weak is what it is. I won't be weak.
Okay, you won't be weak and dependent. There you go. You only have his life when you need it.
Well, I need it, but it's the trying.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to give up the trying.
I'm aware
why do you
of the
think he had
need.
to hit me with such weakness?
Yeah.
And see, I was a living picture.
But see, you could have been weak in that same exact scenario. You could have been weak and tried. And you would have brought death. You wouldn't have brought anything. Everybody would have left and said, oh.
But he produced the weakness that there was no try possible. That's what's kind of terrifying. He produced a weakness that I could not conquer.
I get it. Okay.
And I could not fix, and I had to accept, and I had to live it.
Ooh.
So, the problem, John, is we can't even do. I tell this on the podcast that my daughter would say to me, "Mom, you just have to accept your condition," and I would say, "I know that, but I can't." And I had to beg him, give me the acceptance you're asking of me to live like this. I can't bear it, and I can't do it, and I can't be thankful in it. All the things you want of me in this weakness, I cannot give you. You've got to do it for me and in me, and he did. And it took a long time. But see, what he did in me was kind of the hard way. I don't know that I'm more resistant or rebellious than anybody else, but it was his choice to manifest in this body and this testimony the result of his diminishing me and weakening me in the way, as the Psalm says, was to produce the resurrection life. Only my death to self could produce the option of the resurrection life. And he demonstrated it to us, this little circle, and then he demonstrated it in the meetings, and now he's demonstrating it in the podcast. That resurrection life only happens on top of the grave. And I had to die to being able to work. I had to die to my cooking. I had to die to my gardening. I had to die to all those efforting things that I love to do. And to accept that as a lifestyle and perhaps a permanent thing was not easy. And only he could give me, only his grace and mercy for me gave me the power to let it be and to live helpless.
Maybe that's the difference right there. Maybe the difference is in the try versus no try is death.
It's death, John. Yeah. It's death. You just said it a few minutes ago. You said what we produce is death. When we're apart from the mind of Christ and we're not in the Spirit, and then we are in the flesh, and it not just as life produces life, death produces death. We've seen that vividly. People come in with death and rebellion. It leaves a death, destruction.
So I'm going to experience death regardless. I'm going to either experience the death of my flesh and his life, or the death of my will and the death that it produces.
The death.
I'm going to get death regardless.
Exactly.
So it's just whether on the opposite side of the death, if I want his glorious life, or I want further death. You see the difference? I mean, but it's literally, death is the only deal.
Death is our only challenge, our only solution. And to get to Christ, the solution, and the indwelling Christ, death is necessary. And as much as they witnessed the miracle of life, they also witnessed the reality of death to self. And I can't tell you how terrifying. I wish I could say I didn't worry about it. But I would say, Lord, 130 people are coming, and some of them are flying here and coming here at great expense that they've planned for months. What are you going to do? I am nothing. What is your solution? I can't bear it if I stand up and I have nothing to say, and I can't even stand up. What are you going to do, Lord? Why are you doing this? Because I won't be able to bear it if these people arrive all expectant and I stand up and say, dub to dub. But of course, he was faithful to my grave and faithful to himself that he raised. Never have I experienced more vividly the resurrection life. And I didn't have that name for it for many, many months. But it's a power that's beyond any weakness of humanity. A power greater. They witnessed in person a power greater than our deepest weakness, our most devastating weakness.
We hope you've enjoyed the Shulamite podcast. For all the latest from Shulamite Ministries, please visit us at Shulamite.com, where you'll find Martha's daily devotions, posts from GetAlongWithGod.com, and the online library of all of Martha's writings. At Shulamite.com, downloading the free Shulamite app is easy, and LivingChristianBooks.com is only a click away. Thank you for joining us on this journey to discover a God worth knowing.